Drummer, what do you got? Drummer! Oh, that sucks. Oh, wow, that was so... Oh, that fucking sucked. Oh, that fucking sucked.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the BREWtally Speaking Podcast. I know this is the third episode in like 5 days. What the fuck are we up to? But this is basically going to be Sunday's episode, just dropping a couple of days early. The guest is Joe, vocalist for DED, and this is coinciding with their video premiere of A Mannequin Idol, Lullaby, their new single off of their micro EP, Mannequin Eyes. And this was interesting. I actually had a friend reach out to me who is really close friends with those guys and was like, hey, you should have these guys on. I know we've talked about it, and, I'm going to set you up with them. And, I'd sent out an email to get that all figured out. And then like a day or two later, the band's publicist hit me up and was like, hey, we'd love to have Joe come on the show and basically promote this new video and the micro EP. And I was like, funny timing of all of this. So apparently it was just meant to be that someone from DED was going to be on this show. And if you're not familiar with DED, I mean, Jesus Christ, I don't know how you're not. This band is basically fucking everywhere. One of my favorite bands, and a band we actually talk about in this episode, Every Time I Die, I consider to be one of the hardest touring bands that is out there. They still do it in a van. They still are like kind of punk rock ethos and so forth. And I have to say, DED give them a run for their money. They are constantly out on the road. They are everywhere. And you are typically seeing them hang out with people. I know from people who have been on Shiprock, like that's, where DED kind of made a lot of their name with some of the older demographic that goes to those things. It's just been crazy to see how they win people over one by one and by kind of being, approachable and down to earth and all that kind of stuff. And it's been crazy to see the ascension of the band, and they've been touring behind their first album for almost 3 years now, and that is just unheard of. Something that we talk about probably ad nauseum on the podcast is how often bands have to constantly keep putting out new content to keep fans, and it's kind of refreshing and interesting to see, the guys in DED doing it the old school way of just playing all the shows and getting your band and your music out there as much as you can by hitting the road. So it was kind of cool talking to Joe about that. Obviously, this is the first music that is coming off the forthcoming album that has no name, has no release date. We kind of touch on that a little bit in the chat. Sometimes in doing these without Dan, I feel like I'm talking way too much because it's only me and I don't have anyone to bounce anything off of. So without further ado, let's get into my conversation with Joe from DED, and I'll talk to you on the other side of it. So I had the pleasure of talking with Joe, the vocalist of DED, whose latest EP, Mannequin Eyes, is out now via Suretone Records. This EP's been out for just a little over a month now. How does it feel to finally get some new music out to the fans? Because I know a lot of fans were clamoring for some new music from you guys.
Yeah, it felt amazing, man. It was such a long time from our first album, and it was so awesome we started playing these two songs, Eyes Won't Shut and A Mannequin Idol, live on our last Europe run that we just did, and it was such a great response live, and then to release the songs, in their sonic form for everybody to listen to, it's always been awesome.
I haven't seen much in the vein of who actually produced this new EP, so did you guys go back to John Feldman and work on this, or who ended up recording these songs with you guys?
We did it with Kevin Churko. Actually, we did it's a full album that's done. We just released these 2 songs as a micro EP is what I guess is what they're calling it. I don't know. But it's really just 2 songs, and we did a full length album with Kevin Churko out in Las Vegas. And if you're not familiar with him, he's done like Disturbed and Five Finger Death Punch and all kinds of In This Moment, all kinds of stuff. So. Yeah, he's incredible, man. It was a really cool, great experience to meet him and do everything together. And he's just a master at what he does.
Working with Feldman, I've had a couple of people on that have worked with him, and I know he's kind of a more hands-on producer. How did you find working with Kevin? Because, I haven't really talked to a whole lot of people that have worked with him, so I don't really know kind of his inner workings, like if he's more of a hands-on, like you sit down and kind of really helping you rearrange a song to be the best that it can, or if he's more of a, hey, I think these are great, just go ahead and, kind of do what you guys need to do, and I'll get out of your way. Is he kind of one of those producers, or how does he work?
Well, yeah, they both have similarities and differences. Yeah, Kevin is very, I would say very hands-on, very meticulous. But at the same time, he really was intent on making sure that we sounded like Dead, that we sounded the way we're supposed to sound. He didn't want us to switch it up and, completely rewrite the book and, because he's very involved, but at the same time, he was very, we were very mindful of making sure that it was our vision. But he's very good with music theory and notes and things like that, things that, that we're aware of, but we're not the best at. We're more into like, the chaotic, heavy side that doesn't really have rules. And then he kind of makes the music, brings the musicality into it a lot more. And the 2 of them together, I think, really made for a great final vision.
I know you said you had kind of started playing some of these songs live, so I would assume that's kind of what went into releasing these as a micro EP. How hard is it, though, when you're kind of looking to introduce some new music to pick something and it be the first representation, especially before an album is coming out or even a release date of anything like that? Just kind of walk me through the process a little bit of trying to figure out what is going to be the first representation people are hearing.
Yeah, that was difficult. And again, we have a full album, and I know we're discussing how to release that. It's just, such a weird time right now. So there's a little bit more to think about than there usually would be with the pandemic and everything. But I think, to release some new music, it was difficult. There's a handful of songs that we really wanted to lead with. And this being our second album, we're established now. The first album, it was easier because no one had ever heard anything that we'd done. So it was just like, let's release whatever we want. This time there's a little bit more of like, okay, we have a fan base now. We have people that expect certain things now, that didn't completely dictate how we did this, but that was at least, a thought. So, there are other tracks that I think are, very strong. I mean, I think everything we did is really strong, honestly. And, in my opinion, as it should be, so, but yeah, to lead with these, we felt like they were powerful songs in their messages. They were powerful in the riffs, the choruses. I mean, everything. It just felt good. It felt like a good reintroduction to the band because it's been 2.5 years since we released, 3 years or something like that since we released our first album. But we're really happy with the way that the response has been with these. So it's been killer.
Thematically. And it's kind of interesting, and I don't know if I'm kind of reading a little bit too much into this, but, I like a good pun. I mean, the title of our show is BREWtally Speaking, brew as in craft beers, cocktails, all those kind of things.
Right.
And when I saw A Mannequin Idol, obviously it's very close to an American Idol or things like that. Do you kind of enjoy the fun, playful nature of kind of doing something where it could kind of have a double entendre meaning?
Absolutely. And that's, yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of Every Time I Die, to listen to that.
Oh, my favorite band.
Yeah. So there you go. So like Keith's really good at his word, at his word play, and that was a band I grew up listening to for forever now, and I think that influenced me a lot. He's one of my favorite lyricists, and so not to say that that's why I did this, but I am a fan of that, and the idea came to me to call it that, I know that some people thought it would be confusing and stuff, but the song is definitely taking a shot at the music industry and all industries, really, just what we consume and what we support and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a play on words for sure.
Speaking to basically that, taking shots at an industry you're a part of, basically, whether you want to lump it down to just the music industry or the entertainment industry, kind of going back through some of your lyrics collectively, it always kind of seems to be a bit anti-establishment and, all that kind of stuff. And I'm wondering, you're part of the system, quote unquote. Have you run into any issues with, someone trying to maybe censor what you're saying or going like, hey, maybe don't say that because, it could get you into some shit?
No one's really ever, I don't think we've run into that. No. I mean, that you're right. I am part of that industry. That's the best way to change something, is to infiltrate it and get inside of it. And then you can change things from the inside. It's harder to do it from the outside. So, yeah, I haven't really gotten any pushback from anybody about it. And, I that's rock and roll. You should say what you need to say. But I think doing it, hopefully in somewhat of a clever way, makes it a bit more impactful. And I guess that's the idea,
kind of speaking a little bit more to the video, which by the time people are hearing this, the video will be out. Your look has changed. It's gone out of the context, at least as of now for this video, and there's kind of more of a, I'll call it a little bit of an apocalyptic kind of look to it with, it's hard not to call it antiquing, basically, but, like the flower or whatever that's on all your clothing, so when you move, it kind of creates this, like, kind of old, vintage, worn-in kind of look. What went into this new look, and do you enjoy coming up with new visuals to accompany whatever your, new music is, or any of the things that you're representing for the band visually?
Yeah. There is a new vibe, a new style, and it's heavily, influenced by like kind of older, like kind of Nine Inch Nails type stuff like that and things like that. And it just kind of organically happens, whatever we kind of get into. But we did the contacts, from when we first started. I mean, because when we first did that whole thing, and we were wearing like black, like straight jacket things for like our first, 20 or 30 shows we did. But when we first started, we didn't plan on doing anything with the band. It was just supposed to be a heavy band, and we were just going to play like, around locally and not try to do anything with it, honestly, which was the first time that I'd really been in a band in a long time where there was no thought of like trying to be, you always have this, when you start music, you want to be as big as it can be and successful, or, as many people to hear it. But on this one, we didn't care. And I guess it's made for the most successful thing I've ever really been a part of. So it's an interesting thing with the contacts and stuff. There wasn't like this thought of like, oh, this is going to be great, everyone's going to love it. It was just like, we thought it was cool at the time, and it was cool. And so it's the same thing. It's like, this is where we're at for this album cycle. And yeah, maybe I will wear, maybe we will wear the contacts again. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll dress like, whatever we want. I mean, it's just really whatever we feel like doing. It
was kind of interesting too, in noticing, the album cover for the EP, noticing the drum, kick drum, basically having your new logo for the band as well. That got a makeover as well. And wondering, do you kind of envision maybe that changing as well throughout the album cycles and just kind of keeping everything fresh every single time? Like, are you thinking that far ahead of, not necessarily of what things can be, but just, the fact that you've changed things and it kind of represents, you don't know what we're going to be. And every time we do something, always be expecting the unexpected, because you just don't know what to expect from us.
Yeah. I don't know that there's a lot of thought into that. I'm going to, like I'm saying, there should be no rules as far as for us. If we feel like changing it, we will. If the idea is there, if it's not there, I don't want to force it, So yeah, the new logo, I guess I look at it more like a symbol, in a way, because if you didn't know that it said DED, you might not even know that it says DED. So it really is more of a symbol. We still are going to use our like, I guess lack of a better term, scribbly logo, still is still alive. It's still there. But yeah, this is just kind of supposed to be a new thing. And it's a new symbol that one of our close friends that works with us, like tour manager, does day-to-day stuff for us, everything. He put it together, and we saw it and we just loved it. And, And so we ran with it. It was something we had for about a year and a half, and we were waiting to use it on something, and we felt like this was a good time to use it.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of, you know, I'm thinking kind of like Deftones. You know, they have a few different things that are very iconic to them, you know. Then White Pony comes out and they kind of have this different stylized D that becomes sort of their new logo, and they don't use it a whole lot, I think, on anything since then, but it's been interesting, like I said, to see a band like that who kind of changes things up, has things that are identifiable with them for a specific record, and you kind of know, like, when you see it, it's like, oh yeah, that's, you know, the cat, okay, like that's Adrenaline, you know, the pony is obviously White Pony, like there's all these things and little nuances, like, you know, when they finally put the flower back on the inside of the CDs, you know, kind of going back to something they had been doing on all the other records. Just little things like that I don't know a casual fan will notice, but is something that I've almost been kind of trained to pay attention to little things that are happening that the bands are using, because maybe it's a part of a bigger narrative that you're not necessarily thinking about when you're taking everything in.
Yeah, wow. I didn't even notice that. I consider myself a Deftones fan. Maybe not maybe I don't know. I didn't notice the flower thing. What is that? You said there's a flower inside of the album? So
basically on Adrenaline, Around the Fur, they had the CD cover or the actual CD, when you could buy CDs, was basically the same image, but it was a different color. White Pony, obviously they didn't do that. It was just a generic silver or black or whatever color variant CD you happen to have. And then I think on, what one was it? Might have been, man, I'm totally blanking now, but I know that they went back to that same image, and I think it was like a yellow or something like that colored version. And I was like, oh shit, they brought this back. So it was just like one of those things where it's like, it was, again, a very small, subtle thing that people probably aren't going to notice when you're opening a CD up to pop it in your CD player or whatever. But it was just kind of one of those things, like, I haven't seen this since the first two records or whatever. So it's really cool that they did this little thing to kind of bring it all back and tie, you know, the past to the future and all that kind of stuff. So just little things like that I think are really interesting to see as a music fan and a collector of music and so forth, that little details that bands put in, and sometimes people may not even notice it because it's just such a throwaway thing, like the top of a CD or whatever. But no, it's interesting. Yeah, it's cool. Kind of speaking a little bit more to the music in these two songs, you know, I kind of noticed, for me anyway, your vocal style kind of changed a little bit from having more of a rhythmic delivery to kind of more, I don't want to say straightforward necessarily, but just a different vocal style from you than I really have seen recently on the old stuff. And I'm kind of wondering, was this more of a conscious decision and kind of wanting to showcase a different side of your vocals, or was it just kind of something that came naturally when writing for Mannequin Idol?
Well, I guess, no, there was no conscious thought of it. It was just, you know, what I write at the time, where I'm at the time. I don't know that I felt like it was super straightforward. I feel like when I think of it, because I guess I've heard that a couple of times now, but then I've also heard other people say that it sounds like, you know, dead. But, you know, the pre-chorus in A Mannequin Idol is a pretty interesting rhythm, I would say, kind of rappy a little bit. I'm a little less rappy, I guess, on the new stuff. And then I thought the verse in Eyes on Shut was a pretty wild rhythm too. So I don't know. I guess if those are straightforward, then I don't know what, and if I should do some like polyrhythm vocals or what I should do to make it strange. But yeah, to me, I was just doing what I do, you know, inside of the grooves of the songs. I usually try to just kind of find a way to flow in and out of the rhythm, once the song is there. So yeah, no conscious effort, just what I thought sounded cool, you know, with the music, and it felt good once we laid it down. So yeah, very in the moment.
You know, the irony of that is I actually had written down rapping style initially, and I was like, that sounds kind of condescending, so I'm going to change it. So that actually was
laughing?
More in line. No, rapping. I kind of had that same vernacular where I was like, but I'm sure you're tired of maybe hearing people just lessen it down to, well, you're just rapping. And it's like, well, no, it's kind of got like a little bit of a staccato-y kind of rhythm at times and so forth. And this was kind of, to me anyway, seemingly like, instead of kind of going like, on some of your other stuff, to me, you kind of go fast, slow. There's kind of an ebb and flow to the rhythm. And I guess more in the sense rapping, but it was a thing to me on this one. I felt like the cadence of your vocal delivery kind of spoke more to putting the emphasis and being able to clearly understand what you're saying, whereas maybe before others aren't able to as easily. So when I say straightforward, I guess I don't mean straightforward in a negative way. I mean more straightforward because you want people to understand what you're saying upon the first listen. By the time they're getting to the chorus the second time, they can kind of sing it along with you. Just something like that is more kind of what I meant.
Okay, yeah. No, and I didn't really take it as a necessarily a negative thing either. But I think, I think, both times I tried to make everything pretty audible so you could understand it, but it is important that the vibe is there too. So, if the vibe is right and you can't understand it, then that's okay too. Cause, speaking of a band like Deftones, I have no idea what the hell he's saying in more than half of their songs, but the way it's being said and the purpose behind it, delivers more sometimes even than knowing what he's saying. Sometimes it makes it cooler. So yeah, and it's okay, it is kind of rappy. I am influenced by hip hop too, so it's okay for it to be rappy or whatever it is, but really it's, I think we kind of look at ourselves like, I guess, alternative metal in the sense of like, I feel like we just try to do whatever we want inside of the songs, and whatever that is dead. And so, like I said, there's no like super thought out thing like it needs to sound like this or like that. It's just, does that sound cool? Then all right, that sounds dope. Then good, then go with it. That's it.
I have a bit of a weird question, and if you don't want to answer it or you're not wanting to, totally understand. Just I ended up doing. I'll preface and explain why I'm asking this question. So I ended up doing a chat, and we just dropped it this past week of Mikey from Islander. And we kind of started talking a little bit more about the behind the scenes of the touring industry and so forth, and just kind of the industry as a whole. And, and I was talking about how, they've gotten, in a short amount of time, they've become really good friends with bands like Korn, influential bands like Korn and, POD and Papa Roach and stuff like that. They're getting on these great tours. Was one of those things like, I'd asked Mikey, like, has it ever kind of bit you in the ass a little bit where because you're close friends and became fast friends with these people and they want to help you out and kind of, kind of be the big brother kind of thing, like, hey, we'll take you under our wing, we'll show you how to like, do these big tours and how to kind of be a bigger band of this level. Has it kind of bit you in the ass because people maybe think that you knew them all along and you've had these hookups and you kind of skated past, the grinding it out phase, and it kind of negates all the fucking hard work you had to put in being a band to get to this level, which is the point of being in a band when you want to take it seriously and go quote unquote professional. And, we kind of talked about that, and he was saying that, yeah, definitely there have been times on tours where bands aren't cool with us because we know the headliners and they're tight with us and this, that, and the other. And some industry people sometimes, kind of overlook us because they think the same thing. It did kind of make me wonder, has there been any, I don't want to call it worries, has there been any issues, I guess, with worrying about that when the news kind of became public of your relationship, and that people would only see that, not actually take you guys for all the hard work you've been putting in? I mean, we've been talking about it this whole time. You've taken 3 years hitting the road behind this record that means a lot to you guys and means a lot to the fans, and the label is behind you to constantly let you be out on the road that long to push a record. I mean, that's not normal anymore to tour an album for 3 years. So it does kind of make me wonder if that, kind of has become a worry where it's like, man, like, I hope people realize that we fucking put in the work and we deserve every fucking thing that we have, and not have it be negated because of a relationship that no one should give a fuck about anyway.
Okay, so what relationship is that? Like my love relationship?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. No, you can just, you can just say whatever you need to say, brother. It's all good. I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to feel that way. But yeah, like you said, if you know about the band and if you took a minute to look at it, we were touring and we toured with Korn and Stone Sour last year or a couple years ago. We've done all the big festivals. We've all been in bands for like 15 to 20 years in different ways. This is in no way like we met some people and everybody hooked us up. I'm in love with Maria and we like to tour together, to spend time together and be together. But organically we met because they put us on tour before we knew each other. They put us on tour because they liked our band, just like a lot of the other tours that we've been on. We've toured for like 3 straight years now. And so, yeah, I mean, that's my relationship is, I guess it's because of all that hard work. I was in a place to meet her, and become what we have. So, I would say that, and then going into what you're saying about Mikey, we did have people say that, because like one of our first big tours before, because people didn't know about us, we had toured with like Insane Clown Posse and done a lot of cool shows with Every Time I Die and Atreyu and all kinds of stuff, locally and regionally. But we was all super quiet. Like I said, we didn't really plan on doing anything with DED initially. We had been in bands before that had gone and done really cool things and fallen apart. And I was really honestly over the music industry and all that kind of stuff. I just wanted to be in a heavy band and not really worry about all the stuff that comes with it. But then the way that it happened was we started getting calls from labels and managers and all kinds of people before it had even been released. I know this, I'm trying to think of the producer, Brian something, that he used one of our songs and used it as like a mixing thing. And then a lot of people heard it from him. And, he did like the, what's the band that he did? Anyway, so that it was a long road of things. And then Feldy found it, and then Feldy put us on, and everything from that just kind of kept going. We kept, beating more people and everything like that. So it was a really long road, and it was like we had an EP. We have a full like EP that never came out because it just got so much attention before we even released it. So yeah, it was a long road, and it was a lot of hard work before we knew or met any of the people that we're associated with now. So there's a lot of time and a lot of hard work, and just it's not an overnight thing at all. And if that's how people see it, that's how people see it. But yeah, that's the truth. So
my wife works in the pharmaceutical world and is constantly fucking busy doing project management and stuff like that. I mean, she's been working from home, doing all these meetings and so forth. And then I have a normal job, but then basically spend a lot of time working on this podcast and doing all the various things that need to go into that to create a weekly product, and all the relationships you have to start building and maintaining and so forth. And something that's kind of been interesting, as I'm approaching 36 in the next couple of months, and been married for almost 5 years now, been together for 10, is just kind of thinking about the work that goes into our relationship, and how we're in two completely different kinds of things, but we're supportive of each other, and a lot of the sacrifices and so forth that have to be made to find time for each other while also being supportive of the endeavors that we're both in. And, it does kind of make me wonder, and I've kind of been asking this question a little bit more to people who are on a way bigger scale of doing things, on a professional level and so forth in the industry and so forth. And it does kind of, in thinking about, being with Maria, who has been in the industry for so long herself, you guys who have slagged it out and all that kind of stuff, how do you find a balance? Because I feel like having two creative people who understand each other's crazy drive to be creative and when it can strike and so forth, as well as being pulled away from each other because of touring and all that kind of stuff. How have you been able to find success maybe in the chaos of the industry and so forth, of being with someone when you both are so driven to be as successful as you possibly can be in these creative endeavors? What's a piece of advice maybe you would have for people who are maybe not struggling, but just kind of looking for some advice in that realm?
I would say that it's respect. I think it starts with respect, respect for the other person's craft, respect for the other person as a human being. And I think giving someone space when they need it, and using opportunities to spend time together. It can be tricky. But I think, if we weren't in the same field, there would be a lot of things that we wouldn't be able to do together. There's times where we're on tour, different tours, but the tours end up in the same place, so we get to see each other, whether it's in Europe or on a cruise ship or in the middle of, Missouri. It could be anything. But so there's a lot of different ways that it works out nicely. And if I'm not on tour, I'll just fly out and hop on her bus and cruise around with her. Or if we're around. She'll come out to a show around, where she lives or whatever it is. So there's a lot of just scheduling, but it also is really fun and it keeps things fresh, I think. And I think, if you love someone, then you'll do what you have to do. And, I think of people in the military, that have to go be overseas for years and they don't see their wives or their kids or whatever it is, like that. That's hard. That to me is really hard. And so for us to, miss, the most it usually would be is like 2 to 3 weeks, 4 weeks tops, where we don't get to see each other. And that's not really that terrible. We got FaceTime and all this stuff now. It's balancing it. And then, it is like you're saying, with working on your own band, we're both in quarantine together. So, like we wake up and, we both have all of our press we're going to do. And then she'll go up and play piano upstairs and I'll go down in the basement and play guitar and we'll have our own time, but then we'll also go on walks and cook together. And so really it's like a balance. And I think it's just respecting each other, and we're both, mature people that understand. And that's one of the great things about it, is we understand what the other person's feeling and going through, because we both do it, so it really brings us closer in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. It's just been an interesting question in the last year or so to kind of ask various people, Matty Mullins of Memphis Mayfire, him and his wife, go and do speaking engagements around the world for churches and so forth, and have a couple companies together. And, it was kind of interesting talking to him about how he finds balance. And he's like, honestly, it is mostly work for us, because we're trying to set up our future to where we don't have to work, because we realize we have kind of a finite amount of time. So it's sort of sacrificing now for the betterment of tomorrow and so forth. And, and just kind of talking to these people who are in an unnatural situation, I would say, and just, if you can endure in those environments, I feel like you kind of have learned something that you can bestow upon others on how to maintain relationships, whether it be love relationships, friendships, whatever. So I always kind of like trying to get a little bit of that in here too, for those that maybe might take something from that and kind of find something positive, aside from just, I wrote this song or, this record or whatever that typically we're here to talk about. So thanks for answering that. I know it's maybe a weird question to be asked.
Not at all. No, I would say that in any relationship, whether it's romantic or not, I think respect and communication are huge. If you feel respected by somebody and you respect somebody, I don't see whether it ever be a problem with that. And you communicate. If you're having a bad day, you tell them, I'm having a bad day and it's not you, or I'm having a bad day and it is because you, whatever it is. Communicating and respect, I think, will just make all relationships flourish.
Well, one of the last questions I have for you is, how have you been utilizing this downtime since you guys were supposed to be on tour? Actually, I think the tour was going to end already. Would have ended just recently.
I think it went, through like the first week of May. I think it was somewhere like May 7th or May 8th. I think the last show was going to be at Red Rocks, which is one of the biggest bummers of all of it, was to be like, we're going to play Red Rocks, and now we're not. What was the question?
Just, how have you utilized this downtime? Have you started writing just something else in general, or, what have you been doing in your downtime during all this?
Really picking up the guitar again, the acoustic guitar again. I hadn't played it in such a long time. I played it for so long, and but just all the touring and stuff, and just focusing on DED, just shows. You get home, I don't really want to play. But now really having this downtime, I've been playing the guitar again and working on covers and just kind of just diving back into like this, I guess, the singer-songwriter side of things, which is, just a guy with his guitar. I've been doing that a lot. And then, Maria and I have been cooking a lot and, working on the house and trying to be out in nature as much as possible. Just because you're stuck at home, you got to get outside and try to get some sun and things like that. So really it's been that. It's been a lot of press. I'm starting to do a lot of the live stream stuff. I did one with like Brandon from Atreyu the other day, and just did with JJO the other night. So just trying to do whatever we can. It's like, it feels like it's like a new world right now, because you're used to like, all right, I go out and tour. That's what I do. I go out and play shows, and we make our money, and we connect with people, and it's a beautiful scenario. And now it's like trying to figure out what to do. So I think it's been nice in a way, a step back slow down, because we have been going so hard. We didn't stop. We toured. We recorded our album, for a month or two. We'd go back on tour. We'd go back and record another month or two. We'd go back on tour. So it was so nonstop for the last 3 years. Honestly, this is pretty nice for me. But at the same time, I'm thirsty to go play and connect with people. So it's been nice for health-wise, too. I've been working out like every day, which is killer. Sometimes you don't really find the time to do that or the energy to do that. And so just trying to make the most of having, like, I guess, all the time in the world that you kind of wish for when you are busy. So I'm trying to enjoy it the most that I can, because there's going to be a time when I just wish that I could come and relax for 3 months or whatever, So it's like, you just got to be happy with what you have, I guess, and make the most of it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and looking forward to whenever this new album potentially will drop. Hopefully, I would assume this year, but we'll never know.
Yeah.
State we're in.
Sure. I'm sure it will come out this year. I mean, I would be pretty surprised if it didn't. I'm sure we're going to figure out something, but I just can't speak on it yet.
Right. Where can everyone find you or the band online?
Yeah, I'm Joe Cotela, so Cotela. If you look me up. But yeah, the band is DED, DED. So it's DED Official on Instagram. It's We Are DED on Twitter, and it's DED Official on Facebook. And then I believe, I'm trying to think of what the YouTube is. If you just Google DED, it'll pull stuff up. You can find it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking the time, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate you.
So that was my conversation with Joe from DED. Again, the video for A Mannequin Idol, Lullaby, is out now as of probably when you're hearing this. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's pretty cool to see the band having a new look. I didn't necessarily touch on this in the interview necessarily, but, gone are the context, at least in this video, and something that was kind of interesting to me about this is, a lot of the promo photos and so forth and live photos you would see of the band over the last few years, it's like, everyone's wearing the contacts, and all the band dudes are kind of wearing bands that inspired them. And, that's something I thought was kind of cool, because some of the bands that, they're wearing aren't necessarily bands that you hear the influence in their music very directly. But I do think it's kind of, it's a bit more interesting, I think, for the band's look to kind of have, a solid look now. Like, instead of it just being like, oh, I'm going to wear my Black Sabbath shirt, or maybe you're going to wear like a Muse t-shirt or whatever, now everyone's kind of got this look. And I think it really visually is impressive. The video looks really cool. I mean, a lot of performance videos have been done, but I think, with Joe's makeup and, the coat he's wearing, and, like I said, the dust or whatever that's on everybody, and even on the drums and such, so when you're playing and everyone's moving, it kind of just creates a sense of like little details kind of going on in it, and, even down to the kick drum having the new logo and so forth. And it's just one of those that, for a simple premise of just here's a band in a warehouse performing, it's still pretty visually interesting to look at. So if you haven't checked out that video, go check it out. It's premiering over on Noisy. Should be out by now as of when you're hearing this. If not, well, wait a little bit longer and go check it out. And with that, let's kind of start wrapping up this episode. If you would like to keep up with DED, simple enough, you can find them on Facebook and Instagram at DED Official, Twitter at We Are DED, and if you would like to keep up with all things going on with DED, just go to deadband.com. If you would like to keep up with Joe, go to Instagram at Joe Cotela and Twitter at dead_Joe. Simple enough there as well. So thanks to Joe for coming on. Looking forward to actually hearing what the rest of this record sounds like in whenever that comes out. I know we have no idea when that will be now. Hopefully some new music will be coming out soon, because I think people are really waiting for this new album to come out. I mean, it's been 3 fucking years. And something else I want to bring awareness to, since this is actually coming out before this would even be over, because typically with us doing this on Sundays and so forth, this festival would be over. But if you haven't seen it, there is a online festival called 320 Festival. It's happening starting today, actually, May 8th, and goes through the 10th. The 320 Festival was originally scheduled to actually be a festival that you could go to, and as a result of the pandemic we're all in, is now an online event that was created to bring awareness to the importance of mental health, as well as providing resources to the community and, kind of normalize the conversation surrounding mental health pursuits and all that kind of stuff. And, the cool thing about this was that 100% of the net proceeds were going to be donated to the nonprofits that were associated with it. Instead of it being an in-person festival the way it was supposed to be, it then became an online one. So it'll be streaming, again, starting today as of when you're hearing this, but tomorrow for me. So if I refer to it in the future tense, that's why. The simplest way to keep up with this and to watch it and learn more about it is just to go to 320festival.com. If you would like to keep up with everything kind of going on, that is the perfect place to go. It does look like it's going to be streaming via like different apps. If you have Apple TV or Roku or things like that, you can use the code 320 to get an annual subscription for $11.11. Just go to 320.knekt.live. A lot of cool shit going on with this. Just kind of looking over it, basically the structure of it all is basically just a lot of conversations with people in the mental health field. Some of the things that they talk about, this thing starts at 8:30 Pacific time. There's mindfulness breaks. There's coping and thriving after trauma. There's stuff for LGBTQ, stress, mental health in the workplace. That's like a Friday thing. They have a list on, again, 320festival.com has all of this information, but they have performances on Friday from, as far as people you might be interested in if you're listening to this podcast. Keith Buckley from Every Time I Die, Jaden from Siler's coming on, Frank of Sum 41 is going to be on, as well as Derek Sanders from Mayday Parade, Frank Turner, if you're aware of who he is. All kinds of different seminars going on throughout the weekend. Saturday's performances, Art Alexis of Everclear, Duff McKagan, might have heard of his little band Guns N' Roses. There's also Caleb from Beartooth, which if you've heard the Disease album, I think there's plenty of things he can talk about on this topic. Julian K, not sure who's doing that, given the fact that Ryan from Julian K and Orgy is currently in rehab, so I don't know who's going to be doing it. I would assume maybe Amir. Also, a Songs That Saved My Life after show at 5 p.m. with Bad Flower, Cassidy Pope of Hey Monday fame, if you remember them, Justin from Blue October, and some others. And Sunday, Dan Epstein of Hoobastank's going on. A bunch of great people, basically, from all realms of the touring industry. If you didn't know, this was also organized by Chester Bennington's wife. So, if you kind of wonder where all the mental health and the music and all that kind of stuff is coming from, that's kind of where it all started from. So, wanted to give a shout out to that. The 320 Festival, again, go to 320festival.com and go support all of them over there. These are all great things, especially given the fact that we are, having to social distance and some of us are having to do it alone. Another great way to kind of get some information about some things maybe you don't necessarily feel comfortable talking about or opening up about. It's a great way to get information as well as supporting a great cause and seeing some really great different performers throughout the weekend. So go check that out. And for the podcast, if you would like to keep up with us, it's simple enough. Brew Speak Pod, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Check us out on YouTube. We have some videos. Put up some of the Instagram live things that we've been doing over the last week or so. Just trying to stay sane myself and stay busy. This has been an interesting time of figuring out what I can do creatively to keep myself occupied. So check us out on all those platforms. We might be doing some Instagram lives coming up, starting today, so keep a look on our socials for that. And if you would like to keep up with any of our sponsors, if you are able to in these times, as we've been saying, it would be greatly appreciated. They are supporting us, so we want to make sure that you guys, if you can, are supporting them. So let's start it off with On Point Pomade. Keep your beard and hair looking on point. I've been seeing a lot of people going online and ordering a lot of the pomade, either the classic matte or the premium pomade. I'm seeing some barbers sending out emails and stuff. I know the salon I go to sent out an email saying that they have a potential date of opening coming up. And let me tell you, I can't wait to get a haircut because my hair looks disgusting. And I can't wait to actually utilize the pomade that I have because my hair's too long to really even use it at this point with how terrible it looks. So go to On Point Pomade, use the code BSP15, save 15% off your total purchase. If you have a beard, use the beard oil. Maddie has some of the best hair and a really great looking beard, and I gotta believe it's because he uses his own products. So head on over to On Point Pomade. Let them know that you're supporting them for supporting us. Also want to give a shout out to the Bean Bastard, a local Buffalo, New York company. They have been going around and delivering coffee and giving it to some of the first responders and some of the essential employees and so forth. Just trying to make a difference out there in the Buffalo, New York area. So it's been really great seeing what they're doing and real easy to support them in spite of all this. Like I said, they are a small two-man operation, basically, just trying to spread their passion for coffee to those who love coffee and who are maybe in need of a cup of coffee in a break during this whole thing. So head on over to thebeanbastard.com, pick up some coffee. I recommend this Proton Pack. It's their new blend. They even got really awesome neon bags after I bought mine that was just a normal bag. But the guys said they have a bag coming out to me with a neon bag. So want to give a shout out to them. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram at The Bean Bastard. Keep up with everything going on with them. And again, they're just doing great things for their local community, so really easy to support those guys. And lastly but not leastly, Rockabilia.com. Have loved having these guys come on. If you know anything about Rockabilia.com, they have over 500,000 items on their store. If you are into rock, metal, hardcore, punk, doesn't matter what genre of music you're into, for the most part, they're going to have something you like. Some of the designs they have are even like kind of classic designs that I haven't seen in probably 10, 15 years. So it's been really hard not to just blow a little bit of money I have at times on some new merch and so forth. But those guys are awesome, and you don't have to worry about the integrity of the products you're getting. They're 100% licensed and official, so you don't have to worry about them just, fading after one wash or being bootleg as shit like you see sometimes on eBay. So head on over to rockabilia.com, and if you're a first-time user, you'll see an ad pop up as soon as you go on the website where you can take 10% off your total order. Just follow the prompts with that. So there's a way to save a little bit of money as well if you're a first-time user. I want to give a shout-out to Rockabilia.com. They have been supporting us for the last month or so now, and it's been a great partnership, and can't wait to for this whole thing to go away and to go back to work and buy some of these awesome things I've been seeing where I have to just bookmark it on my computer and be like, all right, I'm going to come back and buy this. So thanks to Rockabilia.com. Thanks to On Point Pomade. Thanks to the Bean Bastard Coffee. And for the BREWtally Speaking Podcast, I am John. We will see you all next time.
Oh, that fucking sucked. Oh, that fucking sucked. Shao Kahn, what'd you think?
That was pathetic.
Yeah. Coach, what'd you think?
Fucking embarrassing!
Okay. I mean, I knew it was gonna fucking suck, but I think those guys were a little rude. Austin Powers?
How about new?
Okay, I thought we were going to get the Austin Powers vote. We did not. John, use that for your podcast. It fucking sucks. But you knew what you were getting into. It's your own fault. It will result in less listens. You're going to see a decline in listeners if you start the show with that. You're going to see 30 seconds in, the number will plummet. And I will be there at the bottom of the plummet saying, I fucking told you. Don't use this fucking riff. It sucks. But it's yours.